Hello everyone and welcome to the first video in the tutorial series. In this video I'm going to be talking about software and the software that I'm going to be using throughout this tutorial series. And to start with, I should say that I'm aware that there are lots of different pieces of software out there that can do the things that I'm going to be talking about in this tutorial series. There are lots of pieces of software out there, there are lots of different methods. But in this tutorial series, I'm going to be focusing exclusively, well, almost exclusively, there will be an exception in the audio anonymization episode, but apart from that, I'm going to be focusing exclusively on a piece of software called Shotcut, and I'm typing it up here in the address bar, Shotcut. And I'll just go to the website here, and I'll put a link to a link to this website in the description as well. But my reasons for focusing on Shotcut, well, there are a few reasons. First of all, I think it makes sense in a tutorial series like this to focus on one piece of software as much as possible. Again, there is going to be an exception to that in the audio anonymization episode, but apart from that, I think it makes sense to try and keep everything as consolidated in one piece of software as possible, rather than jumping around between lots of different pieces of software. So that's the first reason. And following on from that, I think it makes sense, if we're going to be focusing on one piece of software, to focus on a free piece of software, which, as we can see here, Shotcut is a free open source cross-platform video editor. The reason for that is that, okay, so if I were to do a tutorial series in Adobe Premiere, for example, which is another popular video editor, very powerful video editor that I know a lot of people use, but if I were to do a tutorial series in that, well, Adobe Premiere is a paid-for piece of software, so if I were to focus my tutorial on that piece of software, it would immediately limit the audience for the tutorial. So even though Adobe Premiere might in some ways be better than Shotcut, I think that having a piece of software that everyone can access is more important. And incidentally, I would add to that that this isn't a beggars can't be choosers situation. Shotcut is by far the best free video editor that I've ever used. I think that, because it used to be that Windows Movie Maker was the standard, at least in Windows. Windows Movie Maker was the standard free video editor, but that has since gone away. And since then, Shotcut has definitely become my standard. I think that it's a very, very powerful video editor, and it's got tons of features in there, most of which we won't be using in this series, of course, because again, this series is intended to focus on quite basic principles of data preparation. So okay, so we're here on the Shotcut website, and I feel quite condescending walking through this, but this is supposed to be a step-by-step tutorial, so I'll just do this quickly. So click to download, and here we come to the downloads page. You can see all the different versions up here. It's as it said on the previous page, it's cross-platform, so you've got a Linux version, a Mac version, and a Windows version. It's detected that I'm using Windows, so I would download the Windows version. I already have it downloaded, so I won't do that part. I'm not going to be so condescending as to actually walk through the installation process with you, but this is where you can get it from. So you can find the version that works for you and then download it and get it all installed. One thing that I will mention while we're on this page, you'll notice here that it says 64-bit Windows installer and 64-bit Windows portable. So portable zip. So the portable zip version, that is a version of Shotcut that you can put on a USB drive. So you could put it on a memory stick, you could put it on a hard drive. I think you could also put it on an SD card, actually, come to think of it. But you can put it on something portable, and then you can take it with you. Let's say you were going to a conference, for example, and you weren't going to take your laptop with you, but you were going to have access to a computer there, and you wanted to do a little bit of last-minute video editing. You could do that, so you could put it on that and take it with you. It's also, I think it would also work if you're on a computer where you can't download Shotcut to the computer. You could plug in a USB drive and just run Shotcut off the USB drive. And I've used it before, and it worked perfectly fine. And as far as I'm aware, it is pretty much the same as the desktop version. Well, I couldn't see any differences to the desktop version anyway. But in this tutorial, I will be focusing on the desktop version. And also, incidentally, I'll be focusing on the Windows version. Although I think that all the versions are pretty much the same. There may be certain things that are in a slightly different place or that look slightly different, but I think overall people who are using the other versions should be able to follow along with what I'm doing. Okay, so get your Shotcut downloaded, and once it's installed, I've got an icon here on the desktop, so open it up. Just wait for it to load. And there we go. So here we have our opening page. Yours might look slightly different from this. I can't remember exactly what Shotcut what Shotcut looks like when you first download it. So there may be a few little differences here and there. I think I've probably got a few more windows open actually than you would do when you first downloaded it. Let me just, yeah, so yours will probably look something a bit like this. Yeah, it should look close enough to this that you'll be able to follow along. So yeah, so we have Shotcut now, and we're ready to bring our video into bring the video that we're going to be working on into Shotcut.